So my name is Omar Rabasad. It is 5:39 p.m., January 15, 2020. And I'm going to do a video today to demonstrate with my face on it, on the video, um, these signals that are being used to track me and being used to torture. Just trying to get my other detector going here. Um, Electronic gadgets have a very short life in my unit. Um, for some reason, they always go dead in a very short space of time. Um, I was posting some tweets today on my Twitter account. Excuse me while I'm not looking at the camera. Um, and these tweets talked about a conspiracy to enslave, a conspiracy to traffic, a conspiracy to dispose of, a whistleblower. Um, and it's not working. It's trying to get this one working, but it's not. For some reason, the signals are not being picked up. Okay, so as I was saying, on my Twitter account, I was talking about a conspiracy to enslave. So there seem to be regions that a target such as myself. I'm officially a target because something about me has been absoluted. I believe it was absoluted that I'm a prostitute, which of course I'm not, which is in itself is a conspiracy. Making something that is not true seem absolutely true when it's not. So it's really converting a falsehood and through a conspiracy, a step-by-step program of piggybacking, you make the falsehood look like it's true about a person, is in itself a conspiracy. The system is bypassed. The legal system, the justice system, the court system is bypassed intentionally. So in doing so, it undermines the system that we have, which is treason. So in this program, this step-by-step program, which of course is illegal and covert, it's not so covert because it's openly talked about everywhere I go and everybody knows about it. So it's an open secret. It's covert in the sense that it's never disclosed to the target. And if the target talks, then the target gets mentally committed because that's the way the program is designed. It's designed to pull a network around the target. And that's a network or I should say different levels of networks that completely uh, encompasses the target. So this is an emotional network. It's a mental network. It's a physical network. It's a remote network. It's also a local network. So on all levels of circling, bearing the target to make the person look a certain way. So you take an innocent person and you bury the person, layer lies upon lies upon lies upon lies, because you start with a suspicion, which is not true, and that's an intentional lie in my case. And it's layered, layer after layer. It's going on 15 years that I know of. I'm pretty sure it started way before that. But in this building, I became aware of it about 15 years ago. So this was layered. And things that are drawn into the network are things like pullouts for mental eval, false charges, both of which happened to me. There has never been any diagnosis. There is no mental illness. And the charge was dropped. There was no real evidence supporting the charge, but the charge was put through in the system anyways. If the person who was doing due diligence on that charge had looked at the evidence in front of him or her, it was not possible to have put that charge in because it was very, very clear to any lawyer or any enlightened person, enlightened, um, uh, that the charge would not have gone through. So why did it go through is a good question. But anyway, so let's talk about the layers. So it's I hear the comment outside the window that it's absolutely true that I was or am a prostitute, and it's just opposite. It's absolutely not true that I'm a prostitute. I'm not a prostitute. However, what is layered and what is being used to make it look that so that I am perceived from the outside world that I am one is the flagging and the subcontracting of the surveillance without disclosure, and then the criminals taking it those steps further, several steps further, and taking away the privacy of the person and opening up their homes globally through the net and exposing all the private life, talking about it publicly, just opening up the person, turning out the person. And what is seen in the private life, and a lot of it is made to happen also in the private life because a lot of incidents are orchestrated. Um, that is piggybacked on. So there's a lot of false information that's also layered. So if Oma is going for a walk, and somebody reported that Oma was talking to a stranger, then the next report would be that stranger was somebody Oma was blinking eyes at and giving the come hither a look. Then the next report would say Oma was actually soliciting the person. So this is the way it's done. It's layered, and then it's registered, and then it's made public. So then I get harassed in the public arena um, about being a prostitute. So this will um, help to make me angry and to react or try to do this. So in my case, and when I get angry and I get if I react in a bad way, then people are going to look at me and say, "Well, that's how a prostitute would act. She has no manners. She has no self-control." And you're triggered over and 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 over again. So that too is layered to make you look uneducated, uncouth, not refined, and degrade you to make you look like what it is that they're trying to make you into. So at some point, when you open up the person and then you have people talking about what you do in the bathroom and what you do in the bedroom, like right now, between my legs is being focused on. And I know that there are people around the unit who's doing that. And they're talking openly about what they're doing when they do so. They're focusing on certain parts between the legs. They're talking about what they're doing, how hard they're doing it, what kind of technology is being used. Like I gerbiled the clitoris last night, and she liked it. Mind you, you might be asleep at the time. And you hear this outside the window. I have it. It's with the blacks now. And a lot of black men slept with her last night. There was a lineup. We had her 1 hour at a time. These are actual conversations outside the window. So you're meant, this whole thing, this whole program, this set of activity is meant to envelope you. It's like a cloud coming in to cover you. And eventually, if it's done long enough and hard enough and aggressively enough, You're supposed to internalize it. This is how it's done. Of course, with me, there's no internalization. What it is for me is the more you tell me something that's not true, the more I get determined to prove that it's not. Let me say that again. The more someone is trying to lie about me, the more I am determined to prove that it is a lie. So the more attempts are made to make me look or act a certain way, you get opposite effect. Because the truth stands for itself. The truth speaks for itself. And for me, I'm a straight shooter. I was born this way. Um, it's one of my flaws and maybe one of my strengths as well. I shoot straight. I'm just one of those people who shoot straight. And so I don't, I don't like beating around the bush, unfortunately. Um, although sometimes diplomacy demands that you do. But anyway, so that's how it's done. So these signals that are being used to torture is also a part of the program to degrade, dehumanize, make you feel that you're being violated in every which way, and you are being violated every which way. However, having said all of that, and let's not talk about all the criminal things that's done. Um, there is another side of this, and it demonstrates how technology is advanced. It demonstrates how um, we as a society has advanced. Because what I'm talking about is the criminal aspect of a positive thing. Because we are progressing to the point of being connected to each other continuously. Whether that's a good or bad thing, I'm not going to address that. But this is where we're headed, and maybe we are right now without knowing. I mean, we already are through the net and through cell phones and so on, but there's going to be the brain chip very, very, very soon. It's the TV programs are all about it, and people are getting the brain chips, and people like Elon Musk are talking openly about a third layer that would be injected into the head that will cover the brain like a cap, and it would be like a network that would interface with your brain and a computer externally. So I am positive that there are people out there who are already experimenting with this with consent. And maybe there are people who are being experimented on covertly. I'm very sure of it. But let's say that there are people who consented to this. It's openly talked about, openly done. This is where we're headed. We're headed to be connected to each other. On the spiritual side, we're already connected to each other with ESP for those who have developed that side of themselves. But in the spiritual side of things, you can shut it off because all you have to do is change the frequency of your brain, and you can actually do that consciously if you practice hard enough, which is what we do if we use our brainwaves to drive a car, which we could do right now. So you can actually do that with intention. If you refine your intention, you can orchestrate your body into doing anything, basically. You can bring your subconscious into your conscious control. So you cannot be programmed even while you sleep. You can actually bring some parts of your sleeping, the frequencies in your brain at some parts of it, I should say, because there are certain frequency levels that you can be aware of while you're sleeping on certain parts that you can't be. I think that's how it works. But anyway, that's something that people can practice on. But if you meditate, but these things can be done naturally. However, if you put a chip in, somebody has control of the chip. You're connected to a computer. You're connected to a cell phone. You're connected to a server. You're connected to a satellite that's feeding into your brain. then somebody else have control. So really, it's hacking what you have naturally and taking control of it. However, if it's used properly, if the technology is used properly, it could be a stepping stone to getting control. Like people who have ESP have the control, you can actually use the chip as a stepping stone to getting to that point. Something to practice with until you do it yourself, basically. But there's a very, very satanically, diabolically evil side of this technology that is being practiced in our society. And people are being logged into, like myself. I've demonstrated it several times for years. People are logging into you like they're logging into a computer and torturing you. They're pulsing your body with tasers, lasers, masers, microwaves, and they're doing harm to your body and interfering with your dream patterns, interfering with your brainwave frequencies as you sleep, programming thoughts and ideas and dreams while you're sleeping and while you're not aware of it on a subconscious level. So it could be triggered while you're in a conscious mode. So then what happens is if they plant the idea subconsciously as you sleep, and you're disassociated. And a key part of this program is traumatizing people into being disassociated and split. Then, if I trigger you while you're disassociated, you will go back to that subconscious level because you're an automatic now. And that subconscious programming is going to come up front, and you'll be acting on it without being consciously aware or consciously controlling the reaction. This is what mind control is all about. However, as I said before, meditation. Somebody who meditates, none of this could happen to them, not even a chip. A chip could actually move your hand robotically because your hand is on your subconscious control most of the time. You don't think all the time before you move a hand. So it could be overridden. However, you could change that. But what I'm saying is you can move a hand, but you can't, if you meditate deeply, you cannot motivate the person to do something against the person's will, something catastrophic, something negative, something that will do harm to somebody. You cannot override on a subconscious level because when you meditate, your subconscious comes under your conscious control. And the more you meditate, the stronger it becomes. The more you meditate, the better control you have of yourself, even if you're disassociated. Because when you meditate in disassociation, you go on automatic. If you meditate and you disassociate, which if you're meditating, you may not disassociate in the first place, but say you did, your unconscious is what you fall back on, but your unconscious is what you're forming while you meditate, which is positive. It always is positive. You cannot meditate on a negative thing. It's impossible. We're not made up this way. If you're meditating, you're always meditating on something positive. So if your subconscious is on the meditative level and you fall back on it, if you're triggered or if you're disassociated, what you're falling back on is positive. Something positive. It's always something positive. So, is there hope? Well, absolutely there is hope. Absolutely there is hope. But at the same time, while this change is going through, because we're in flux right now, life itself is changing. Our very nature of life, our earth, our bodies, everything is changing. We are changing. The universe is changing. It's that time of our existence. It's about change, rapid change. And what we're experiencing right now is the abuses of that change, where the laws are not catching up to the changes. So am I a threat? No, of course I'm not a threat. However, people who are trying to demonize me is going to say that I'm a threat. I'm no threat. Actually, I'm enjoying the ride. It's quite an adventure. Talk to you another time.